Nana, in a speech in 2007, you made an observation, and if I may paraphrase you, you said, in over 30 years of frontline politics, the more you travel across the country, the more urgent you thought we needed to fight poverty and win the war if this country was to progress. But what has changed now? You've been traveling this country for several years. Why a listening campaign now?
Oh, first of all, I think interacting with the people you want to serve and lead is always a good thing. It allows you to be abreast of the current problems. You go somewhere 3 years ago, the conditions of life in the same place may not necessarily be the same today. So you want to be up to date, and you want to be able to see for yourself in concrete terms, because there's a tendency for some of us in Accra to say these are the problems, but yet when you go out there, you find that the priorities of people may be different from what you may have thought. So it's important also to engage, to be able to be sure that you are really touching people and addressing matters that concern them directly, not your understanding of what their problems.
They're talking at people.
Yes, but their own problems, you know. So one of the things that has really amused me to some extent is that my critics are asking, how come I want to be president of the Republic and I don't know what the problems are? What am I going to go and listen to? I'm very surprised to hear this, especially from people who claim to have a patent on door-to-door and house-to-house campaigning. I don't know what it is, door-to-door or house-to-house, who claim to have invented it as a form of political campaigning. I'm not quite sure I'm up to speed on that. No, but more seriously, I think it's important. I think the political leaders, those who aspire to high office at all levels of the ladder, not just those who aspire to high level, to be in constant interaction and with those whom they want to serve and lead, it must be a good thing, because it means that at any one stage, they're situated in reality. They know what the problems are out there, and then, from the perspective with which they have come into office, attempt to address those problems. But I think it's extremely important for us, what I'm doing, and yes. I'm deriving, and I also find the contact with the Ghanaian people always very invigorating. Yes. We have a very, very, very intelligent people, a very compassionate, very kind, caring people, and with a tremendous sense of humor. Even in the most difficult circumstances, there's always a way that they come at you with something that allows you to laugh and relieve the tension, etc. So it's a good experience for me. I enjoy it, and I'm certainly enjoying this one a great deal.
It's been a good experience for your communications team, because interesting things have come up which have benefited us.
Okay.
For example, today in Tema East, I don't know if you heard, but in the background somebody was heard to say, say one shots about it. That's why a guy. You know,
yes,
perceptions.
Yes.
We've heard people say, "Oh, he's such a nice man," and they told us he was arrogant.
Yes.
We've come across all sorts of expressions.
The propaganda machine of the people on the other side. It's important for them to paint me as an ogre, some sort of madman, a man who's out of touch with the realities of our people, somebody who even, apparently I'm told in some cases, there's a woman who was very surprised when she shook my hands.
Yeah.
So, but they say that you don't shake hands, and if you do, you have to clean them up, or you wear gloves and things like that. These are these absurd attempts to demonize me. And I suppose a part of their worry is that going around like this and showing yourself to people as you are is doing away with a lot of those perceptions. And perhaps that may not serve their propaganda purposes so well in the future.
What have you been told, Nana?
All kinds of things. I mean, many of the things are things that you can already you can anticipate. But there's some fundamental things that seem to run through every place that I'm going to. One, of course, our people are very struck on the quality of the road network in our country. So the cry for roads is almost universal, even in the big cities, doing our roads. Yesterday, I was in Mataheko, in Ablekuma Central, and it's very much the talk all over the country, our roads. Jobs for people, especially for the young. And that one is also something that you see face up. Village after village, small town, big town, wherever you go, young people milling around, having nothing to do. Owari, dummy, ludo, spa. That's their
from daybreak to night.
All the time, sitting there doing that. You have also a tremendous concern about education in Ghana. There's one of the things about our country that really we ought to build on, that ordinary people in Ghana recognize quite rightly what education can do in terms of transforming their lives, and therefore their desire as much as possible to push their wards, their children, their nephews, whatever, into the educational land. But then they're confronted with major problems. The main problem, of course, being, first of all, access, and secondly, money. That they're not able to raise the monies. The monies keep going up and up. Their own incomes and are not going up in an equivalent manner, so that there's a really big difficulty about dealing with how you can educate your ward. I mean, one of the things was a young man in Obwase, Abdul. He had to drop out at the senior secondary school level in the second year because there's no money at home. And that language is a language you hear all the time. You know, in tree, and I'm into school, that's right. SHS, no, junior no cry, you train me through that is and it's a sad. Or trying, he has to do something, help out in the farm, something. He's unable to continue with his education. And it's a very sad comment on where we want to go as a nation. That's why I'm saying that let us make a concerted effort for a generation to educate in the public sector the Ghanaian people, and as much as possible insulate the parents from the cost of that education at the primary level. Let the state take on that burden, so that within a decade we will then have a largely educated populace. We're not going to be able to address the development paradigm and achieve the goals that we want to, so long as we're dealing within a population that is half illiterate. It's not an accident that in the Asian nations, Japan, Korea, that's right, the Malaysians, those who are now held up to us as models that we want, that immense sums of money were invested in primary and secondary as well as tertiary education to make sure that the population became modern in its knowledge structure. I think it is, and the example of it is being seen in these tremendous strides. You're talking about countries that began at the same level of economic development as us, who today have a distance us by 30, 40, 50%. The classic example, of course, is South Korea, which came into independent life more or less the same time as us, more or less the same levels of per capita income, the same structure of economy, largely raw material, agricultural-based economies, and who today, whilst we are, 1,600, 1,700 per capita income, which was the figure for 2010. We're talking about nearly $30,000 per capita income in South Korea, largely because of the transformation that they're able to effect in the structure of their national economy.
So to you, education makes
a key.
Society.
It is a key. It is an absolute key. Apart from of course, it's other equally important. I mean, apart from preparing people for if you like, a more enhanced economic life and activity, but also has equally important social, psychological, and cultural defects. Access to information, broadening people's scope and the way that they look and think about things, and plugging them into the 21st century. Right. So that all of this, one of the things we have to do in all our schools, if we have the opportunity, when we come again, we're going to do it. All the secondary schools of Ghana have to be wired up. The information that there is out there on the internet is vaster, greater, more complete, more comprehensive, more universal than anything you can find in a library. Yes, it's a fact.
So you are not only going to provide free education, you want to enhance quality.
We want to enhance the quality. Because without it, we're looking in the country. One of the things that is to some extent sad about Ghana is that our history, our own history, where we're coming from. A lot of the time, because of what the turbulence that has occurred in the last 40 odd years in our history, 50 years in our history, it tends to be forgotten. This country had an educational system that was second to none in Africa at the end of the colonial period. Everybody recognized
You went to Saito yourself.
I did.
Kimbo.
Yes, absolutely. Government school. From there, I went to school in England. My father decided to send me to school in England. It made no difference to the state of my development. I found that I had as much numeracy and literacy skills coming out of government school in Accra as people who had gone to private school in England of my same age. Yeah. It told you about the quality of education. That was the background which we had in this country. And somehow or other, we've dissipated that capital. It is important. And this is one of the things that President Akufo brought out, which I thought was an extremely progressive idea. The idea of the model school, that in every district in Ghana, we would have a model school which would be, as it were, the focal point for pulling up educational standards in every district. It would be the school which the brighter people in the district would go to, and it would be the school that would provide the standards by which other schools in the district would be measured. So this, for me, it is an extremely important development that we have to master. Excellent. We've got to put our mouth and our heart where it is and make sure that this generation of Ghanaians do not suffer the problems that previous generations have suffered. And then we have a generation that opens us up, that is now fully clued into. And Ghana, every time something of value occurs, the way in which our people, even with all the difficulties that confront them, embrace them, tells you that our people are extremely open for all of this modernization process. Right. Take, for instance, the mobile phone. You'll find the most extraordinary places you find people on the mobile phone.
At this point, somebody is using a modern contraption to send you a message. So let me take it. It says, this is Staniel Agato from the Volta region, who says, no matter how the NDC try to paint Nana, he will surely be in the castle come 2012. You are the best man for Ghana.
Mr. Stanley, that's very kind of you. I'm really appreciative of that comment. Thank you.
Nana Addo, what alternative policy will you bring to the presidency that will incentivize small businesses? Because I believe they have the potential to engage a lot of our youth. That's anonymous. Nana, you have the opportunity
to respond to some of
to respond to them.
Okay.
So the key ones, you make a note of them. That one is particularly important because of the large informal sector. Nana, you are our hope. You are the only one who can save us from the current economic hardship in this country. God bless MPP, God bless Nana Addo, and most of all, God bless Ghana. Nana, people do not believe that secondary education can be made free. Even the current subsidies do not come on time. So please take the opportunity to convince Ghanaians that you can do it. And from the way Nana is speaking about education, you can see the passion just flowing out. And I want to question his passion after this. Simon from Wally says, Nana, good to see you. You're still looking fit and healthy. Long live Nana, long live MPP, long live Ghana.